Hello adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am very excited because we are taking some steps to get closer toward hitting the road. I am almost ready. I've changed out a lot of things. I've been testing out some stuff, and well, this is what's been going on. Okay, so I'm trying to plan a few things out for my van, and one of the things I was considering is putting in like a regular K-cup machine. They have things that you can use with K-cups, but you have to heat the water, pour it over, and that's just an extra step that realistically I probably won't take. So I was thinking if I could put something this size or smaller in there, that would be super convenient. All I have to do then is just pour the water in cold, pop it open, put a pod in, and I'm ready to go. The problem is none of the Keurig websites have how many watts that this guy pulls. So I'm gonna do a little experiment and see if I can figure that out using this Blue Yeti power station. Okay, in order to do that, I need to unplug this and then plug it into the Blue Yeti. And then I need to turn on the Blue Yeti, which is currently at 88%. So this would be an average use amount. I wanna see if it will run from it not being fully charged, and if it will not, then that answers that question. Okay, now I'm gonna pull out, I could do a chai this morning, I guess. Let's do a chai. Okay, put it in, pop it down, and it did turn on. I immediately lost 1% of power by doing that, but now I can fix it to 6. Now, this is the thing. As it's running, you can see it pulls a lot of watts. Now, I don't know how long that's gonna take for that coffee to brew up though. So you can see it's dripping over there. So that's a step in the right direction. We're still at 87%. It's pulling 1,400, almost 1,500 watts with this one. And then it's still going. We haven't lost power. It just powered down the screen part. You can see it. We lost another percent. It's almost finished with a 6-ounce cup. So I can run it on something like the AC70, which is only 1,000 watts. That's good to know. Looks like it is almost finished. It has finished up on the Blue Yeti. And so now it's just finishing the chai. Okay, so now the real question is it hot? Yes. There's steam coming off of it. So it did heat. Smells normal. Seems to work. So I guess the answer is yes, I can put a K-cup dispenser in my van. Now, the question is, can I find one at my local store? Because shelves have been pretty weird. So maybe this is something I could explore. We'll circle back to this before I hit the road. So again, revisiting that, we started at 88, we're at 85 now. It maxed out almost at 1,500 watts, which is perfect because this has a surge capacity of at least that, so that worked. The machine is still on, still being powered. We're not losing any power, just having the auxiliary lighting on, which would be this. So technically, yes, this would work. Okay, in other van things, I have a fan here that I've been using for quite some time. I love this fan. It has a light, it oscillates, it does all sorts of crazy things, but I put it away after last season. And then I ended up putting it into my reserves area for if we lost power so we could have something. And I kind of messed up. Whenever I went to go pull it out, I dropped it really aggressively on the ground. It is no longer lighting up. So I'm not sure if just because it was in storage, it's dead. So I'm trying to charge it to see if the fall killed it. I beat these things up. I try to do everything I can to show you guys if things will last over time. This has been in my possession for a long time before this, and it has worked wonderfully. I use this and my Road Pro fans to keep cool during the warm months, and I kind of create like a wind chamber, pushing wind in different directions. I will sometimes pull in wind with my double-sided Road Pro fan from the outside to pull cooler air in and shoot warmer air out. And then I'll use this to get all the low-lying hot air out. And it's so helpful. So I'm gonna be really sad if this one's messed up, and I'm probably gonna have to replace it. This is just another one of those things that happens sometimes. And I test out a lot of equipment, so I'm used to moving things around, kind of really being rough with them so that we can see if they're gonna have longevity. However, this one has been so good. It's been slammed between my door and my ladder a few times. It has fallen out of the van. I have dropped it by accident, and it's worked through all of that. This time though, I dropped it onto something very, very hard. And so I'm like, oh no. And it was just something that like, it just slipped. And you know, life happens. So if this doesn't work, it's okay. I will find another fan to replace it. It's not that big of a deal, but at the same time, I need to get that done pretty quickly because we're going to be leaving in just a matter of like a few days. So figured this is a good place to start with this. It's been over an hour now. Nothing is turning on. Nothing is doing anything. There's no light. Yeah, I killed it. Oh no. Okay, I'm going to figure out a new fan solution. Now, as you can see, I was having some issues with one of my items, and that is just unfortunately the case sometimes. So, since we possibly have a solution, today we're going to be unboxing the Conbola fan. Now, this is going to be interesting because this is very similar, as you can see, to my old fan. It does have a couple of differences. So I was curious about the other brand and how it would work out. Conbola was gracious enough to send this to me so we could test it out, beat it up. And as always, guys, remember, if I'm showing something on my channel that I'm going to be using, that doesn't necessarily mean that you guys have to purchase it. However, if this works out, I just wanted to share from start to finish what we think about it right out of the box all the way into using it on the road. So with that said, let's get to unboxing and figuring out what exactly this is going to be like, get it charged up, see if it's going to produce enough airflow for what I need it for in the small van. And well, we're going to look also because it looks as though they have some different colorways and I don't know which one they sent me. So the other one that I had was orange. It was nice until too many times. Right out the gate, this is the X23 model. It's supposed to be able to have a rechargeable battery. It's going to have a brushless motor in there. It says here that it can rotate and pivot also, which is pretty nice. And there's a couple of other options as well. It's supposed to be very quiet, and that was a really big draw for me because I want something that's not going to keep me up at night because I use this a lot of times at nighttime. Now this one does have a light also on it, which is very similar to the other ones. So I'm assuming that they are basically going to be the same, just one brand and another brand. Right out, we have a cord that comes with it, and this is a longer cord than came with the other fan. So a longer cord here, which is great because then I can plug it into a power station and either charge it or run it directly from a power station. It looks like this is a Type C, so that's very common, and that means it will also work with a lot of other cords in my van, just in case this one ever messes up. So that is great. A lot more companies are moving to Type C, and it is so helpful because then more of your things work together as opposed to having to have so many cords. In fact, that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing with the van is removing some of the cords because I no longer use things that need them. So with that said, out comes the fan, and it is wrapped up nicely. Packaging matters. They don't have any kind of like bracing material or anything, but they do have things to keep it from getting like debris inside. And then inside here is the fan itself. This is just the black one, it looks like. That is perfect. This one is slightly smaller than the other fan that I had, but it does have a handle for easy pickup. It does look like it has a clip on the bottom, which the other one did not have either. And so I can hang this in a variety of places. For example, if I want to hang this on my awning, I don't think it would be too heavy to do that. And then I could actually push air even when I'm sitting outside, which is really nice. So other things that are on here, we're gonna check out. I'm not exactly sure. This says it's a light. I'm not positive, so we're gonna look at it a little closer. It does not appear to have any kind of remote. The other one had a remote. So this is a more simplistic version, which is actually nice because that remote just would get lost in my van. Companies should realize that sometimes when we're using these for the outdoors, more stuff makes it more difficult. Now there are two pieces of paperwork here. The first one is the product manual itself. The second one is the specs, and it tells you all of the goodies here, including how much input current, how much output that it will give you, also the product size in millimeters, not inches. So this clearly isn't just from the United States. It does say that the address comes from China. So if you are purchasing this, they did ship this within the United States, but it was originally made in China, as are most electronic devices. So that's pretty normal. That's pretty understandable. And this is available on Amazon. So again, it does have distribution here in the United States, but it does come from abroad. So those are just good things to know in the current state of the world, just in case. But with that said, let's see if it came charged already or if I need to charge it up, in which case we will do that and then we'll get back to it in just a little bit. Now, in order to power this one, instead of having the digital face, it has this right here, and it has a few lights. It does come somewhat charged, and so I'm able to move it into several different modes. And this feels pretty nice, let me tell you. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off for a moment so that we can look closer though. Each mode gives you a different face of which section that it's in. So mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, mode 4, but also this indicates battery percentage. So again, let's look at that. Whenever we turn it on, it turns on to mode 1, and then it shows us that it came about 75% charged. So that's pretty neat. So you just have to let it pause for a second. Same thing with mode 2, and then it'll tell you how much battery that it actually has. And then you'll see this tick down as it's running out of battery. So that's pretty neat. And you do have to cycle through all of the phases to turn it off. Now this is light. Ooh, the light actually comes from within on this one. So it's not on this front face right here. It's inside of the light. So it provides more of a glow. And as we turn on the light again, it gets brighter and brighter and then off. So inside here, you can see that little white ring, that's actually the light section. So I didn't use the lighting too much on the old fan, but it is nice to know that if I need a little bit of something, this is here, and that's pretty bright. So I'm enjoying this. So again, it is partially charged. I'm gonna go ahead and top it off the rest of the way, but just for reference again, 2 buttons, very easy, no remote, light inside, very lightweight, and very much something that could be handy. Now the previous fan would swivel and go up and down. This one does not swivel, it only goes up and down. So you can kind of directionalize it a little bit here and there, trying to see if there's anything specific that I need to do. It looks like it just tilts a little bit. It's not tilting very much. I don't want to ruin it, but there's got to be a way for it to tilt more than that, because that's just a very limited amount. I'm going to read the instructions so I don't break it, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to get it charged up. Super easy to charge. We just take our Type-C connector and we put it into its little space right here. And then the rest of this plugs into a regular USB. Now I'm gonna be doing a full video for you guys of how I stay cool, not just using fans. I have other things that I use as well, since summertime is rapidly approaching. In fact, here in Texas, we are already experiencing warmth, lots and lots of warmth. But I wanted to make sure that this was gonna work out for me before I did that video, because I will be using this as a part of that. So get ready, guys. I'm gonna update what I'm doing to keep cool, and I think it will be very handy for you guys. So coming soon, ... question mark, I don't know. With that said, I have a few other projects that I'm gonna work on while I'm charging this up the rest of the way. But first, again, I'm going to read through the product manual just to see if it has any additional information. It doesn't look like it has a ton of extra stuff in there. It's mostly a product manual for other things that they have. And this one is more so the product description and method of application. So I probably would want just a little bit more information. Again, I'm always honest about what comes out of the box. It doesn't look as though there is anything else in here that would give me information on tilting it more. So I'll just be very careful. With that, I have to work on another project. Okay, that task is now complete. So now I'm gonna move on to something else. The fan's still charging. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and kind of start pulling together my electronics that I'm gonna take with me. I always like to charge them at base camp before I head out. That way I start off at the top versus somewhere in the middle. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get my small batteries charged. I'm going to get them set so I can put them in one place. And then of course I take everything out to the van that's electronic, either the night before I leave or the day that I leave. That way I don't have electronics just sitting in the van. I'm going to figure out which power stations I want to take with me. That's going to be the hard part because I'm not exactly sure what this trip is going to look like. I have a few reasons for that. Now, the reason why I don't really know is because my plans have kind of modified a few times. Originally, I was going to go to one destination and that's where I was going to end up, and I was going to meet a friend and we were going to do this really cool thing, which you'll see very, very soon. I am so excited about this thing. That's still happening. However, my timetable for movement has kind of shifted now. Before, I thought, okay, I'm going to go up here and do these things, and then I'm going to come back to Texas. And then after that, I'm going to leave back out and go and do these things over here because I'm meeting up with Riley. However, now the necessity to come back to Texas is a little less, so I may not come back to Texas. I still might, I don't know, but I'm trying to plan accordingly in case I do not. But there's another factor in here. I have a friend who I'm also going to potentially be meeting on this leg of the journey, who is really trying to get into getting a travel vehicle of some kind. And I told him I would help him out if there's anything that he needed in getting started. The only problem with that is my extra stuff that I can help him out with is in Texas. So if he needs anything and I don't physically have it in the van, I would have to come back to Texas to then meet him in a different location with that item. So I don't know what to do. Do I just carry an extra power station with me or not? I don't know. I could probably put 4 power stations in the van, no problem. That would also be really helpful if it's like cloudy at any point, but also I just don't know. So I'm trying to figure all of that out. I also don't know which method for like refrigeration he's wanting to use, if he's wanting to have a solar panel, if he's not wanting to have a solar panel, and all of those things will be things that we have to discuss. So maybe I just shoot him a text and find out if he's any closer to that. There's also the option that it doesn't pan out for him and he doesn't get it in his timetable. We all know about timetables. So those are things that I'm considering as I'm packing the van. It's not just that I'm packing it for myself for this grand adventure that I'm so excited about, but also that I'm trying to help out a friend. And so that can be a little bit more complex, but with that, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Now I am sure I'm gonna take the all power that is currently plugged in my van already to the solar panel. I really like that one. I like that I can plug in other power stations that have the same connection, but I do have a converter for it also. So that is something to consider. I really like the Jackery V2, so that's definitely going to be going into the van, but I have to top that one off. And currently it is down at my parents' house because we used it for the estate sale, and then I just left it down there in case they needed it for preparedness. However, now that we are moving past that point, I now need to figure out what third power station I take, a small one, a big one, how much space it's going to take up, what kind of room I'm going to have, and I don't want to feel claustrophobic. I have decided I am only going to take one refrigerator because of that same reason. I took the freezer and fridge last year. I do have a dual zone that I could use, so I'm probably gonna take that one instead. It's just gonna be me most of the time cooking for myself, and then Riley will have her fridge, and then I guess ultimately in the bigger picture of things, we can turn one into a freezer, one into a fridge, and that'll work. At the same time, my diet's looking real different now because I'm eating more of the liquids, so a freezer is just not as needed for the solid foods. So there's lots of weirdness going into this packing. But with that, let's get to going on another project. I'm gonna be charging my little light up so that it'll be ready to go. And I need to get a cord so I can charge this guy up too. This is my string lights, and those are definitely going to be in the van, super accessible. And I really love these. I'm so happy that our friend Anthony told me about these because, dude, so good. There we go, that's all charging. And I like that I keep a carabiner on this. It just makes it easier for attaching it to different parts of my van. Now, speaking of power, I have this Bluetti and this all powers. I don't believe I'll be taking this particular all powers because this is the one that wouldn't work well with my fridge because it kind of powers down if it's not constantly being used. Otherwise, great power station, but really bulky considering that it's not going to do that much in regards to the fridge. So I'm thinking the Bluetti maybe. The Bluetti is great. It also uses the same kind of charger end as my other all power, so this would be a good one. Maybe the Bluetti, the all power, and the Jackery, maybe. That's kind of where I'm going with this so far, but I also am kind of thinking maybe the Vatid. I love the Vatid, it's so small. And if I could get it to tuck away in a little place, that would be great because I use that thing a lot outdoors. It is only 300 watts, but it's amazing. I always overthink power, but it's because I use a lot of power. But now I'm thinking about power because I want to help a friend. So it's like, oh no, I'll figure this out. Okay, so my last task of the day is going to be to figure out my shower setup. I have several different iterations of a shower that I've taken with me, and I use them pretty infrequently, to be honest. I prefer to go to gym, a laundromat, do things like that, because I am going all the time, so I'm pretty used to just being able to find those things, and because I move quickly, I pass through a lot of places that possibly have them before hitting the road again. With that said, it sounds like it's raining. I guess I won't be getting on the roof right now, but I will be getting this ready to go on the roof. And I guess it actually works out better because I have a couple of other things that I need to do, and this will prevent me from going up and down the ladder numerous times, I guess. So yeah, we're gonna work on my shower right now. Now, my shower that I've consistently brought with me is just a little USB shower. A lot of people really don't enjoy these as much with this particular head because you can't turn the head off, but it doesn't really bother me that much because it's very simple to use. And with this, all I have to do is just find where I want to have a shower, put some water in a bucket, basically drop this in after it's all connected, and then turn it on. It has a little button here, and then it just, yeah. So after it's turned on, it'll continuously run, and it uses this to pump the water out and through the shower head. Now, typically, if I want to turn the water off so that I can lather up, I'll just reach into the bucket, turn the water off, no big deal. I don't have to replace the head with something that can be squeezed. Now, a lot of people like to do that. There's nothing wrong with that either way. It's just because I use this so infrequently, not really worth it to me. So let me show you kind of how this sets up really quickly, and then I'm gonna kind of troubleshoot my bucket situation. So everything just kind of goes together and twists and then caps off like so, and then also like so. You push it on there and then you start to screw it down, and it just airtights itself so that the water can pass through and not leak. And that's it. Your shower setup is together. I got this on Amazon. I've had it for a long time. I've used it a bunch, but at the same time, I don't use it every single time I camp. Now, previously what I would do is I would set this up with my little tiny pop-out bucket. It holds about 1.5 gallons of water. Not a whole lot, but I would keep some extra water to the side. Now, a lot of people like to heat up their shower. I do sometimes, but usually whenever I'm using this, it's mostly just because I have done something really crazy and I feel gross and I just want to hose my body off. So I don't really need a ton of water. However, I would like to set it up where it's a little bit more convenient for a real shower if I am in the middle of, oh, say, the mountains, and I can't necessarily access a Planet Fitness or a truck stop or a laundry facility or something like that. So I want to get this a little bit closer to where I'm using it more frequently. So I was kind of thinking that instead of my 1 gallon pop-out bucket, I could get something that would hold a little bit more water. Enter Amazon. Amazon has tons of different things, as always. They also have these at different places like Bass Pro, REI, sometimes Walmart. This is just a little pop-out bucket. This one is larger than my other bucket. So all I have to do is literally just pop it out, and has handles on it and everything to make it easier to carry. You just kind of maneuver it outward like this. It'll take on its form, and then after you add liquids to it, it'll really take on the form. But the nice thing about this one was that it has this nice clear side on it, so I was like, okay, worst case scenario, if I have it sitting somewhere, I can see kind of what my water level is. Sure. Also, it was one of the less expensive ones. This was under $15, and the material, whenever I was reading the description, it is a reinforced material. It has the seals on it that are very similar to my dry bags, where they're a welded seal so that it doesn't creep out the water. It doesn't have big stitching, so it's more durable. And the best part of it is after I'm finished using it, I can just kind of collapse it down. It doesn't really have to have a rhyme or reason, just fold it into itself. And then that's it. It takes up very limited amount of space. So my thought is what I can do is at camp, I'm going to grab my wolf-wise shower tent and throw it back on my roof. I had taken it out for a little bit because I was just not using it. Again, because I don't really shower at camp very often. So I'm gonna put my wolf-wise tent back in. I'm going to get this all set up into possibly this dry bag. I think it'll all fit in here. And if it all fits in here, then I could have like a nice like shower bag that then goes and lives on the roof. Whenever I do get to a campsite, if I'm gonna be sitting there, then I can pop it out and hose off and feel good. So now I have this as an option. I have my scrubs stuff, not only the rinse-free bath sponges, but also for the hair, I have those. And then of course I have my regular shower bag. So showering is covered whether I'm gone for a weekday, a month, or a year at this point. So everything will fit nice and neat, and then I won't have to worry about it getting dusty and gross. I think we solved that problem, and thank goodness, because wow. Realistically, anytime that I get ready to hit the road and I change out things, it's all about figuring out what's going to work best for me in the situation I'm going to be in. I always tell you guys, if you have an area to just kind of like spread things out, do that, because you never know what you're going to need. And also, you need to think through the process of how you're going to use it so you're not just carrying a bunch of extra stuff. I've taken things out of my van that I know that I'm not going to be using. For example, I don't sit still long enough to need a rug right now. I just don't. I took it whenever I was going to be sitting still, but now that I'm not, I don't need it. I also took out my larger table because I'm just not going to need it. And so I have a small table that I can use that takes up far less room. I've taken out a lot of different items that are just like novelty things that I like to carry with me to make more space. And I even took out a huge dry bag of extra fancy clothes because I have a more creative way to store them now. So it works out really, really well. I do have a few more things that I need to put together. I'm going to move my current heating blanket from inside the van to up in the roof box because I am going to be going to some places that it gets cold at night, even during the summer. And I'm also going to, I think, take my Panda and put it in there with it and just zip all the air out and put it up there. And if I need it, I can get it. But otherwise, it's out of my way because 35 square feet doesn't give you a lot of space. With that said though, I think we're in a better place. Not quite there yet, almost. Leaving in just a matter of days. Got the thing that I was waiting for in the mail, so I no longer have to wait for that. I think I just need to talk to my friend that I'm meeting to make sure that we're on track, and then I'll be leaving in a couple days, if the rain will let me. We'll see. Remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. Thanks for coming along for these random van projects. Van things happen every single day when you're getting ready as well as when you're on the road. So just kind of get yourself together, put your mindset together so that you can say, okay, what's important to me and what's not. And don't worry, if you overpack, you can always kind of shed things along the way. It is harder if you don't have a base camp, mind you. So try to do that in a place. It just makes life easier. Trust me on this one. Till next time. Bye.